In today's story, a night shift worker discovers that her roommate has been secretly listing her bedroom on Airbnb whenever she leaves for work. Before we begin, settle in and enjoy tonight's story. My roommate was renting my bedroom on Airbnb while I worked nights. The first stranger left a phone charger under my pillow. I found it at 7:15 on a Thursday morning after a 12-hour shift at the hospital. It was white, newer than mine, and wrapped neatly around itself as though someone had packed in a hurry. I stood beside my bed holding it, too tired to understand why it bothered me. My roommate Jenna was already awake in the kitchen. I asked whether it belonged to her. She glanced at it and said, "Maybe, just leave it on the counter." It was not hers. I knew because Jenna used an Android phone and the charger in my hand was for an iPhone. That alone would not have meant much. Friends visited, people forgot things, but nobody had visited the apartment the night before. At least, nobody was supposed to have. I worked overnight as a respiratory therapist at a hospital in Denver. My schedule was 3 or 4 12-hour shifts each week, usually from 7 at night until 7 in the morning. Jenna worked remotely in marketing. We rented a 2-bedroom apartment together because neither of us wanted to pay Denver rent alone. The lease was in both our names. We split utilities evenly. We had lived together for 8 months without any serious problems. Then small things began changing inside my room. The charger was first. 2 shifts later, my comforter was tucked beneath the mattress in hospital corners. I never made my bed that way. A bottle of water disappeared from my nightstand. The reading lamp was angled toward the wall. My closet door was open by several inches. Each change was minor enough to explain away. Jenna said she had gone into my room to close a window before it rained. Then she said she had borrowed my full-length mirror. Then she said the maintenance worker had checked the vent. The explanations arrived too quickly. The next week, I came home and smelled men's cologne on my pillow. That was when I stopped asking her questions and decided to find out who had been sleeping in my bed. I came home from a night shift and found a stranger's phone charger under my pillow. 2 days later, my bed had been remade in a style I never used. Then I smelled men's cologne on the sheets. My roommate had an explanation for everything, but none of her explanations involved someone sleeping in my room. I started with the lock. My bedroom door had a simple keyed knob. I always locked it before work, mostly because Jenna occasionally had friends over and I kept prescription medication in a small safe inside my closet. The lock showed no damage. I tested both keys. Mine worked. The spare was supposed to be in a sealed envelope in the kitchen junk drawer. The envelope was still there. The seal had been cut and glued back together. I did not confront Jenna. Instead, I bought a small motion-activated camera and placed it on the top shelf of my bookcase, hidden between storage bins. It faced the bed and bedroom door. I felt ridiculous setting it up. There is something humiliating about installing surveillance in your own bedroom because you do not trust the person 10 feet away. That evening, Jenna watched me leave for work. "You're on again tonight?" she asked. "Until 7. She nodded while looking at her phone. At 2:13 in the morning, the camera sent an alert. I was assisting with a patient transfer and could not check it immediately. When I finally opened the app, I saw Jenna entering my room. She carried a laundry basket filled with folded towels. Behind her stood a couple I had never seen before. The man had a rolling suitcase. The woman was holding her phone up, as though comparing the room to a photograph. Jenna turned on my lamp, placed 2 towels at the foot of my bed, and said something the camera did not record clearly. Then she handed the couple a key. The video ended after the room went dark. I watched it 3 times in an empty hospital supply room. My first reaction was not anger, it was disbelief. This was too deliberate to be a misunderstanding. Jenna had not let friends crash in my room once. She had prepared it like a rental. At 6:30, another alert showed the couple leaving. The woman stripped the sheets and placed them inside the laundry basket. Jenna entered 5 minutes later, remade the bed with my spare linens, and sprayed something into the air. By the time I got home, the room looked almost normal. I walked into the kitchen and found Jenna making coffee. "How was work?" she asked. I looked at her phone on the counter. A notification appeared before the screen went dark. "Your guest has checked out," I said, busy. Then I went into my room and locked the door. I searched Airbnb using our neighborhood, approximate dates, and a one-bedroom filter. Nothing obvious appeared. I expanded the map. After 20 minutes, I found a listing titled "Quiet Private Room Near Downtown Hospitals." The main image showed my bed, my comforter, my lamp. My framed photograph of my mother on the nightstand. Jenna had photographed my room while I was at work. The listing described the space as a professionally maintained guest suite inside a peaceful owner-occupied condo. It was neither. We rented the apartment. The listing promised private use of the bathroom during overnight stays. That explained why my toiletries had been moved twice. It also listed amenities I had purchased: my white noise machine, my blackout curtains, my mini fridge, even the weighted blanket my sister gave me for Christmas. The nightly rate was $118. There were 27 reviews. The oldest was from 4 months earlier. Jenna had been renting my bedroom for half the time we had lived together. I read every review. Guests praised the clean room, comfortable mattress, and convenient check-in process. Several mentioned the host's roommate who works nights and is rarely home. One review complained that personal items remained in the closet. Jenna replied publicly, "The room is used for occasional owner storage, as noted in the listing." I was the owner storage. The booking calendar showed my next 2 shifts as available. She had been tracking my work schedule. I took screenshots of everything. Then I checked the apartment lease. Short-term rentals were explicitly prohibited. Unauthorized occupants could trigger eviction for both tenants. That changed the stakes. Jenna was not merely using my property and invading my privacy. She was placing my housing at risk. If management discovered the listing, they could terminate the entire lease. I could not simply expose her online and assume I would be protected. I needed proof that she had acted without my knowledge. I downloaded the camera footage, saved the listing, and photographed the resealed key envelope. Then I looked through the Airbnb reviews for useful dates. One guest mentioned checking in during a snowstorm 3 weeks earlier. I checked my schedule. I had not been working that night. I had been visiting my sister in Colorado Springs. Jenna had used my room whenever I was absent, not only during shifts. Another guest mentioned meeting the other tenant in the hallway. That review was 6 weeks old. I remembered the morning. I had returned early because a patient transfer was cancelled. A man carrying a backpack had been leaving the apartment as I came through the lobby. Jenna told me he was a co-worker. He had slept in my bed. The next morning, I created a new Airbnb account under a different name. I requested to book my own bedroom for Saturday night. Jenna responded within 12 minutes. "Hi, Amanda. The room will be ready by 4 p.m. Self-check-in is available, and I'll send the door code that afternoon." Saturday was one of my scheduled shifts. I asked whether anyone else lived in the apartment. She replied, "My roommate works overnight and will not be present during your stay. You'll have complete privacy." I searched Airbnb and found a listing called "Quiet Private Room Near Downtown Hospitals." The main photograph showed my bed, my lamp, and my mother's picture on the nightstand. It had 27 reviews. My roommate had been renting my bedroom to strangers for 4 months and describing my belongings as guest amenities. I considered canceling the fake booking and confronting her immediately. Instead, I completed it. My plan was to document the entire process from the guest side: the messages, the instructions, the payment, and the promise that I would not be home. The booking cost $146 after fees. I used a prepaid card. On Saturday afternoon, Jenna sent check-in instructions to the fake account. She included our building address, the lobby access code, the apartment number, and a photograph showing where she hid the spare key. The key was taped beneath a patio storage box accessible from the ground floor courtyard. Anyone who booked the room received enough information to enter the building and our apartment without her being present. I sent the messages to myself and contacted Airbnb support. I explained that the listed room was mine, that the host was my roommate, and that I had never consented. Support sent a standard response asking me to prove I had rights to the property. I uploaded my lease and identification. They said the case would be escalated. The listing remained active. I contacted our property manager next. I did not accuse Jenna verbally. I sent a factual email with the listing screenshots, camera footage, and booking messages. I stated clearly that I had discovered the activity that week and had not authorized any guest access. The property manager replied within an hour, "Do not confront the other tenant yet. We are reviewing this with legal counsel." That instruction made me nervous. It also gave me cover. At 6:30, I dressed for work and left as usual. Then I drove around the block, parked in a grocery store lot, and watched the camera feed. At 7:20, Jenna entered my room with fresh linens. At 7:45, she sent the fake guest a message asking for an estimated arrival time. I replied that my flight was delayed and I would arrive after 10. At 8, Jenna left the apartment. That surprised me. I assumed she would be there to greet the guest. Instead, she had given a complete stranger access to the apartment while neither tenant was supposedly home. At 9:15, my bedroom camera went offline. The apartment internet still worked. I could see the router through its management app. Only the camera was disconnected. When I checked the last recorded clip, Jenna was standing directly beneath it. She had found it. A minute later, she called me. I let it ring. She called again. Then she texted, "Why is there a camera in your room?" I replied, "Why were you in my room?" She did not answer. 5 minutes later, she cancelled the fake Airbnb reservation. The cancellation message said the host could no longer accommodate the stay because of an emergency. Then the listing disappeared. At 9:40, Jenna sent another message. "We need to talk before you involve anyone." I wrote, "I already have." That was the first point where she understood she no longer controlled the timeline. I returned to the apartment with my brother and a police officer who agreed to stand by while I collected medication, work equipment, and essential belongings. Jenna was waiting in the living room. She looked furious, not ashamed. "You recorded me without consent," she said. "In my bedroom. You can't put cameras in a rental. It isn't your rental. It's my apartment too." The officer told us he was there only to prevent a disturbance. Jenna lowered her voice. She said she could explain. Her explanation was that she had fallen behind on credit card payments. Her marketing hours had been cut. She needed a temporary way to cover rent. I asked how much she had made. She said she did not know. I showed her the review count. She admitted it was around $9,000. My half of the rent for those 4 months had been $4,800. She had collected my rent while also earning almost twice that amount from my bedroom. She insisted she had never allowed dangerous guests to stay. "You didn't know them. Airbnb verifies people. You gave them the building code and a key to our apartment. They only came when you were gone. You were tracking when I slept, worked, and visited my family." She said, "You make it sound creepy." It was creepy. She had converted my routine into inventory. My work schedule was not merely information to her, it was booking availability. The police officer advised me to stay elsewhere that night because the lease dispute was civil unless property had been stolen or damaged. I packed 2 bags. Before leaving, I removed the camera and checked my medication safe. Nothing appeared missing. Then I noticed an envelope behind the safe. It contained 4 photocopies of my driver's license. I had given Jenna 1 copy months earlier when we applied for a parking permit together. There was no legitimate reason for 4 copies to be hidden in my closet. I showed them to the officer. Jenna said she had printed extras by mistake. I did not believe her. The following morning, the property manager called both of us into the leasing office. Jenna arrived with a friend who claimed to be familiar with tenant law. Management presented printouts from the Airbnb listing and building entry logs showing repeated overnight access by unregistered visitors. Jenna argued that they were her personal guests. Then management showed the booking messages from my fake account. The lease violation was undeniable. The manager told us the company had grounds to terminate the entire lease. Jenna looked at me as though I had caused that. I reminded management that I had reported the violation immediately after discovering it and provided evidence that the room was rented without my consent. They offered a conditional solution. Jenna could sign an agreement surrendering the apartment within 7 days. I could remain under a new lease after a security inspection and lock change. If she refused, management would begin eviction proceedings against both of us. Jenna refused. She said I was benefiting from her mistake by taking over the apartment. Management gave her until 5 that afternoon. At 4:30, she signed. I thought that would be the end. It was not. That evening, Airbnb contacted me. Their investigation found that the listing photographs and host account belonged to Jenna, but she claimed I was a co-host who had approved the arrangement verbally. She had uploaded a screenshot as evidence. It showed a text conversation between us. In the screenshot, I appeared to write, "Use my room whenever I'm on nights. Just make sure it's clean before I get back." The message was fake, but it was built from real parts of old conversations. Months earlier, I had texted, "Use my blender whenever I'm on nights." And during a discussion about houseguests, "Just make sure it's clean before I get back." She had combined the two messages into one image. That was why she kept copies of my identification. She had not needed them to list the room, but she needed documents suggesting I was involved if the arrangement was discovered. Airbnb temporarily treated it as a dispute between co-hosts. They would not disclose payment records without legal process. I examined the screenshot carefully. Jenna had done a good job. The font, background, and timestamps looked consistent, but the date shown at the top was a Sunday. My phone backup contained the actual conversation from that date. There was no message about renting my room. More importantly, Jenna's screenshot showed my contact photograph as a picture I had changed only 2 months earlier. The alleged conversation was dated 4 months before that change. She had reconstructed it recently. My roommate told Airbnb that I had approved the rentals. She uploaded a screenshot where I appeared to write, "Use my room whenever I'm on nights." The message looked real until I noticed my contact photo. It was a picture I had not started using until 2 months after the conversation supposedly happened. I sent Airbnb the phone backup, the contact photo history, and the original messages she had spliced together. I also filed a police report for suspected identity misuse and document fabrication. The officer warned me that prosecution was uncertain. The financial loss belonged mainly to Airbnb guests and the platform. I had continued paying the same rent. My belongings had not been visibly stolen. The violation was obvious. The criminal category was less clear. That became the frustrating part. People understood immediately that what Jenna had done was wrong. Turning it into a clean legal claim was harder. I changed every lock management permitted me to change. The building replaced the lobby code. I replaced my medication safe and froze my credit. When I checked my credit reports, I found no new accounts. But I did find 2 recent soft inquiries from tenant screening services. Someone had used my information to generate background reports. The inquiry dates matched 2 Airbnb guests who stayed in my room. Jenna had apparently used my identity documents to reassure guests that the other tenant had been screened and approved. One guest had asked whether I knew about the listing. Jenna sent my license as proof that I was a legitimate resident and then told the guest I was her sister. I contacted the guest through the review profile. She remembered the exchange and still had screenshots. That evidence finally connected the photocopied identification to the Airbnb operation. The police added it to the report. Airbnb removed Jenna's account permanently and refunded my fake booking. They would not tell me whether previous guests were refunded. The property manager completed Jenna's move-out inspection. She had taken the router, 2 kitchen chairs, and a television that belonged to me. She claimed they were hers. I had receipts for the television and router. I did not have one for the chairs. I recovered 2 of the 3. For 3 weeks, Jenna sent messages demanding reimbursement for her share of the security deposit. Then she threatened to sue me for unlawful surveillance and lost income. She never filed. I did file in small claims court. My claim included the stolen television, lock replacement, damaged bedding, the cost of staying in a hotel for 6 nights, and a portion of the Airbnb revenue derived from the unauthorized use of my room and belongings. The judge would not award me all the rental revenue. He said the question was not whether Jenna had profited wrongfully, but what measurable loss I had personally suffered. I received compensation for the property, hotel, locks, and cleaning. The total was $2,740. It did not feel proportional to 4 months of strangers sleeping in my bed. But it was a judgment against her, and she had to pay it. She paid in irregular installments over the next 9 months. The final payment arrived through a money transfer app with the note, "Hope you're happy." I was not happy. I was sleeping properly again. That was different. I stayed in the apartment until the lease ended, then moved into a smaller one-bedroom place. It cost more, but the front door and bedroom door were both mine. For months, every small disturbance woke me. A hallway sound, a shifted pillow, a smell I did not recognize. I replaced the mattress, even though there was nothing physically wrong with it. The old one felt like an object from a hotel room I had never agreed to operate. About a year later, I searched Jenna's name out of curiosity. She had moved to Arizona. Her social media described her as a short-term rental consultant helping hosts maximize unused space. There were photographs of spotless bedrooms, folded towels, and keyless entry systems. I considered sending the court judgment to the people commenting beneath her posts. I did not. Instead, I searched Airbnb for my old neighborhood. The original listing was gone, but one photograph still appeared in an image search result. My bedroom, exactly as it looked before I knew. The comforter was smooth. The lamp was on. My mother's photograph sat beside the bed. Underneath it, the cached description called the room peaceful, private, and prepared exclusively for guests. The photograph was taken while I was at work, helping a patient breathe. Jenna had opened my door, arranged my belongings, and turned the safest room I had into a product. That was the part I could never explain as a simple roommate dispute. She did not merely rent my bed. She sold strangers the promise that I would not be there.
You've been listening to Low Light Stories, original fiction for late-night listening. New stories are added regularly, so subscribe if you'd like to hear the next one. Thanks for listening.